It's fine, huh? Welcome back to the Joys of Solo Travel podcast show. Today, I'm extremely excited for this episode as we have an incredible guest who just radiates a positive energy and just an incredible personality. She has traveled to 32 countries around the world. So I'm very happy to welcome Isabel, who is actually joining us today from Mexico. Hey, Isabel, how's it going?
Yeah. Hello, everything's good. How about you?
I'm doing well. It's quite early in the morning there in
Yeah,
Mexico. Yeah.
it is.
Are you a
But
morning person, or would you say you're more of a
not at
evening?
all. Only when traveling.
Only when
But if
traveling?
if it's a normal day, no, I hate waking up early.
Yeah. I mean, and also it's like I guess when you mentioned right, only during traveling, like one thing I've noticed that's really difficult is the jet lag. Like when you're traveling from one part of
Yeah.
the world to the other, how do you typically deal with that? Are you just waking up and kind of, going with the flow or?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. You need to go with the flow because like when you're on vacation, you need to like take every second of that trip and make it worth it. So you can go sleep when you go home. Even though I love sleeping, like, but when I'm traveling, it's like, okay, I'm sleeping when I get home. I need to like enjoy while I'm here.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think,
I always feel like I get in a lot more steps in the day when I'm traveling just because I want to maximize my day when I'm traveling.
yeah,
I say I'll rest when I go home, right? So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think the same.
Absolutely. Look, I'm very excited to reminisce with you on some of these incredible stories and memories and journeys that you have. But I would say before we even start diving in, I'm curious, what got you into this passion for traveling? Did it
Mm.
come from your parents who started bringing you as you were a kid, or did you just develop that over time? What got you into traveling and your love for it?
Well, yes, I think it was like my mom is very adventurous. Like when she was young, she traveled a lot alone. Like no one wanted to go to her with to China, and she was like, "Okay, I'll go like alone." So she went to Japan, China, she went to Thailand, she went to Europe. She was very like solo traveler. Like she didn't mind because you make friends on the way. And I
Mhm.
discovered that too, you know. And my parents always like pushed me to that. I was like, oh, I want to volunteer in Italy or in Turkey. And they were like, okay, do it, you know? They always push me to these experiences. Sometimes it might be hard. Like in Italy, it's not this cultural shock, because it's very similar to Mexico. But when I went to Turkey, it was like, oh, but you need to learn to adapt. And that's the amazing part of being in another country, in another culture, because you get to know how they live, and
Mhm.
respect their culture and learn about it. That's
Yeah.
that's very important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's also one of the beauties of traveling is just like the people and the culture. And the more you put yourself within those boundaries
Yeah,
of that, and you can really maximize the beautiful experiences and the friendships and the people you get to meet, right?
yeah.
So
You're never alone. At the end, you're
absolutely,
never
yeah.
alone.
How do you adapt then? Well, you said like when you got to Turkey, for example, I'm assuming you were volunteering there. So how did you learn to adapt to such a different culture than you growing up in Mexico?
Like, I don't know. I think this thing in my mind, like if you don't adapt, you die. You know? Like
Hmm.
you need to learn to survive. And actually the people were so nice. Like that was not the problem. It was like the culture in general, it was different. That I haven't moved like in alone in trains like that much. So I needed to learn the routes and everything. And because Turkey, when you volunteer, is not the touristic part. When I
Mm,
travel, you go to the touristic part. No, I was like in the most random places. Like
okay.
you're living there. So it's not always that be I would say it's beautiful, but it was different for what I expected. Because you see the pictures and the touristic part is everything arranged so you can take pictures and stuff. But in reality, like there's people living there. So it was like, oh no, like it's amazing, but you need to, like we say, adapt to the different environments because it's not gonna be always like this perfect, beautiful thing you're gonna picture.
Yeah.
And that was a shock.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
I did it
Amazing.
well, I think.
Well, that definitely kicked off a lot of all these different subsequent of so many experiences and memories. And it's so nice to see that, your mom had this passion and love for adventure and discovering the world, and it's now translated to you. And I'm sure she's
Yeah.
very like joyful. And I'm sure, I guess, did you share some of those experiences with your mom together as you guys traveled growing up?
Well, yes, when I was in Turkey, I wanted to go. I know this is now a little difficult area now, but I wanted to go to Israel because some friends told me like, "Oh, it's beautiful and stuff."
Hmm.
And she came with me, like for the culture, there was not this big problem yet, but I think it's a beautiful country.
Hmm.
Like putting all of this stuff like
Yeah.
aside, and we had this amazing experience because she's always like, "Oh, you want to go? You want to do this?" She had like these vacations, and he was like, I'm going with you," and it was so special for me, because the experience is different. Like being alone in Turkey, like 1 month, 2 months almost alone. And then she was like, "Oh, do you feel alone? I can go travel with you." And I was like, "Yeah, please come with me." I
I
love
love
it.
it. That's amazing. Great. Well, let me take you down south now. Let's go all the way down to South America to Patagonia, where you had one of, if not the longest hike that you've ever done, right? Is this on the
Yeah.
Argentinian side of Patagonia or on the Chilean side of Patagonia?
I did both.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. So tell me about
Because,
that. It's called Torres del Paine. I probably didn't pronounce it properly, but
yeah.
so how,
Yeah.
how did that come about, and what really got you into kind of wanting to embark on this
Yeah.
long hike?
Well, as we talked about, I love traveling. And I'm gonna show you, like, talk to you about some of the background of why I did these trips after. But I went to Iceland in a group with some influencers. So, like, a lot of people saw my profile and they were like, "Oh, I want to travel with you." Like, yeah, are you a travel agency and stuff? So I was like, "Oh, like people want to travel, and they're interested in coming with me." So I started making these groups. So we went to Patagonia, Africa. We also went, what was the other one? Bali, Indonesia, and stuff, So the first travel group was to Patagonia. And I think it was the people I met there, it's they were incredible. Like, because it's always like you don't know who's gonna when people contact you, you don't know them like 100% to say like, "Oh, we're gonna have like good time together," because they're not your friends, but they became like our family, like. And we weren't athletes, but like in that hike, they were like 8-hour hike, and we were like, "No, we need to do this." Like, it was so tiring, but it was 100% worth it. Like the view, but there it was snowy. Like it was a bit dangerous in some parts, but we were with a very good guide, and we did it. Like even people that didn't make any exercise and were like, "No, it's for the experience, and you push yourself like in every adventure."
Yeah.
So I think it was one of my favorite. We saw pumas, we saw these animals called, I think it's guanaco. Guanaco, it's like an alpaca. I don't know, like the ones from Peru, but in Chile. So it was really, really nice experience.
Okay, wow, amazing. And I guess then, so what time did you guys start the hike? Because you said it was 8 hours, so I assume you guys probably got up super early in the day to
Yeah,
to.
very early. I think like 5 or 6. Like when we do hikes, it's always very, very early because you need to go down early to not have like danger or stuff. Also in Indonesia, I think in Indonesia, in Bali, I don't think, I think it was Mount Bromo. It was, I think, the hardest. In Patagonia, it was the largest, but in Burma, it was the hardest hike ever. I was almost puking. No, it was so hard. They at the end, I didn't want, but they carried me up because I was about to die, and I was like, "No, I don't want them to carry me," because there are these people that work in that. They live by carrying people up. But I was like, "No, poor people, I don't want them to be carrying me and stuff." But at the end, I couldn't anymore. It was so hard, but it was this another amazing experience because imagine being carried with the most beautiful view. It was like, "Oh, never mind." It was worth it.
It's like a VIP ride up the
Yeah.
hike, and
Yeah, and they were well paid. Yeah. Yeah.
but then okay, well, then
So
I'm curious, what made that hike so much harder than the one in Patagonia?
I really don't know. Maybe it was like because in Patagonia they were like this and then you went up. But I think in Bromo it was all the way up, like always going up, 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 you know. And I have
Mhm.
zero condition. Like even though I look I might be in a little bit in shape and people are like, oh, she's really athletic. Like I'm not athletic at all. Like sadly, I need to practice more my condition. But yeah, everyone went up but I couldn't. I don't know. Maybe I was more tired. I couldn't tell. For me, it was so hard because I usually always push myself. Like I'm very, when I decide something, I need to get it, you know? This time, I couldn't. Even if I tried.
I can understand that because I like for a lot of these challenging hikes and these longer hikes, there's usually a lot of like times during the hike where you almost doubt yourself a little bit, where you're feeling uncomfortable and
Yeah,
you have a bit of a mental block and you push beyond it
of course.
to learn more about yourself that you can face the adversity. In both these hikes, the one in Patagonia and the one in Indonesia, did you face some of these mental hurdles at some point during the hike, and how did you overcome that?
Of course. And then when I look back, I was like, if I could go through this, I can go through anything. Like it's like you conquer your mind and like I say like God, please help me. Like you gave me these legs and we're gonna do it to the top. It always works. Only in Brahma it didn't work. Because my body is like, if you don't stop, I'm gonna stop you. My body was like, no, we can't do this anymore. But in general, like I think I always do it. This was the first time I couldn't. Like it was very, very difficult. If you go, I think you need to have a good condition, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's my tip.
Yeah. And I guess I assume it's probably from a safety standpoint better to go in a group and with a guide that knows the
Of
different
course.
area. Hmm.
No, no, no. I think you don't want to take the risk of going alone or something. And it's a new country, a new place. So for these natural activities, I think it's better to go with someone that guides you when it's a long hike. If you go to Costa Rica to a short hike or to a park, you can go alone. But if it's gonna put your life in risk, you should go with someone to
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned some of the animals you saw on your hike in Patagonia. So I'm curious, like, did you just see them roaming around like as you were hiking, or like
Yeah.
how did these things come about?
Yeah, it's because it's a natural reserve, I think. It's they live freely. As I told you, like my favorite part of traveling is seeing animals. Like in the safari, I was amazed. I really don't like zoos, for example. I have this kind, I don't know if they take care of them there, but like seeing them in their natural habitat, like living their lives and having good conditions, like to keep living their best life. It's like my heart is full. So I saw the pumas with her babies, and I was like, this is the best experience ever. And then the guanacos, but like living freely, not just in a zoo, like living naturally where they need to be. Like also in Africa to see the elephants with their babies and the lions, they're just minding their business. Like if you respect nature, their nature respects you.
Mhm.
So you need to be very gentle and respectful when you visit another country, to never leave any trash, to if you want to touch an animal, like it's better to investigate before, because I have a friend that's a biologist, and she told me like, no, it's not always good to touch the animals, because they're not meant for that, and they get like, how do you say, they get a lot of humans there, so they start behaving different, or now they're gonna ask for food and that food
Mhm.
is not good for them. You need to investigate a little bit,
Yeah.
because it's like as a tourist it's very easy like to give food to the monkeys, or to the whatever, but you need to be very respectful in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's Yeah, it's I mean nature is so precious, right? And like the way you know how you respect and treat those animals is really important, especially in foreign countries that you know you might not be 100% aware of. And so, but I guess speaking of, you know, elephants, speaking of lions, you know, let's take ourselves to South Africa, where I know you went to an incredible safari. I know it's one of
Yeah.
your most memorable experiences. So to just tell me about that because I absolutely adore South Africa as well. I went to safari there as well, and so yeah, so tell me about that experience.
Well, I think all about South Africa was amazing. Like, I didn't expect this beautiful city. I don't know, Cape Town was beautiful, like so perfectly like order, clean. So we get there and I was like, oh, this is really nice. But then I think the safari I went to was in Johannesburg
Mhm.
and I didn't know what was gonna happen, you know, how did this safari work, if the animals were free, because imagine having lions like just being there, you could get attacked, no. But no, they just mind their own business and you can watch these beautiful animals everywhere, like from afar. And we also saw what animals? Like a lot of animals. My favorite, also zebras, they were beautiful zebras. But like in South Africa, it's like they were horses. Like it's very you would like be in the car and to the left you saw like a camp with zebras and it was like it's crazy, you know? It's like for us to see horses, like it's very usual for them to see zebras like going around there. But I would definitely recommend to go to South Africa. It's by far one of my favorite places on earth because I also saw penguins, like in the Penguin Beach. So imagine you have penguins, you have elephants, lions, you have a lot of things to do there. I think, yeah, you should go again.
Yeah.
We should plan another trip.
Oh, we should definitely. I mean, it was incredible. But I guess then, okay, so let's go step by step. So Cape Town. Did you go to Boulder's Beach, by the way? That there was penguins there in Boulder's
Yeah,
Beach.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
the beach I went to.
And obviously Cape Town is super beautiful in terms of just like the it's next to the ocean, incredible
Yeah.
landscapes. So, you know, what about Cape Town that really stood out to you that really resonated with you?
I don't know. It's also about the people. And yeah, the people are so nice, very harm-worded, see, yeah, very warm, like very nice people with nice personalities, like very, you know, like the girls dancing on the street and these beautiful colors. As I told you, I like very colorful cities. I I don't like much like great climate and stuff. So I think it depends on your personality. But if you like being watching
Mhm.
people be happy. I think that's the most special part about Africa, the people.
Yeah, I felt that as well when I was in South Africa. Like just the energy of the people and the liveliness and just obviously it has, you know, beautiful music, traditions, and it's incredible,
Yeah.
right? The dancing and all this, but just every person I've met and it's you know from different backgrounds and they're
Mm.
just like just incredible like the energy that they give you. So but I
Yeah.
guess then when I was in Johannesburg, right, it's more of a bigger city and more of just kind of a city itself. And I did go to a safari where they, you know, I was able to actually like feed the giraffes and well, like it was an open, like it was like an open
Mm.
like safari, but there was like giraffes and you're able to like kind of
Yeah.
like feed them stuff. And did you have that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
experience where?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I love like interaction with animals. Like every time they told me like, "Oh, you can touch this animal," like I'm absolutely gonna touch the animal. Like giraffes, the little in Costa Rica, the little monkeys, there's these creatures, I don't remember the name. What I don't know, but they're like mini bears. I don't know. And they are all over the jungle. I think it's quatis. I think it was a quati,
Okay.
you know? And they like people. Yeah, because there's a lot of people there. So they come to your things and tell you like, do you have an apple or something? And
Well,
I love quati.
but then I'm curious, what stemmed this love for animals? Did you grow up with a lot of animals?
Yeah, I grew up. with dogs and cats and stuff. My mom told me like to be very respectful with animals and stuff because I think kids should learn this when they're young. Like like animals are not toys, you know? But in general, okay, I respect animals, but like you cannot see an elephant and not be like amazed. Like this
Hmm.
beautiful creature, you know, in general, animals are amazing. In Iceland, this little fox, you know, we went to this natural reserve and there was this little fox, and I don't know why we had this connection, and he was all over me, like playing and playing, and people was like, wow, like if we were best friends. I think animals like feel your energy. I think this. Like animals can tell your intentions and stuff. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about it, but I think it's a green flag when someone's good with animals. Like that's something I look up to like in people. If they like animals, you can be my friend.
Yeah, no, definitely they almost have the sixth sense to feel the energy of the person, right? And they almost have that intuition before
Yeah.
humans do in a sense, right? So that's great. And I know you mentioned Iceland, so let me bring you from the African continent to the European continent. And I think in Iceland you saw the Northern Lights.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was the first time I saw them. And the last I think by now. We went to this Second World War plane that it's like I don't know what part of Ireland, but there's this plane that the people survive, but the plane is there. And we took amazing pictures. It was so freaking cold. Like I think the most cold I have ever been in my life. I couldn't walk anymore. And I was like, no, go ahead with me. Like leave me here. I cannot walk anymore. Because it was so cold, my legs didn't work anymore. But I think I didn't mind because the experience was 100% worth it. Because we went on March and they told us like, oh, maybe you won't see the northern lights because I don't know. And that night they were so green. Like we were just very lucky. I will show you pictures later.
Wow, incredible. So like that's always been on my bucket list to see the Northern Lights. I haven't
Yeah.
done it yet. I know there's so many different parts of the world you can do it in the sense whether
Yeah.
it's in Canada,
In Canada, yeah.
exactly, Sweden or Iceland, etc.,
Norway.
Norway and so on. So like and so I guess is it true though? So is it depending on the month that you go, let's say a December
Yeah.
versus a January, you would get a different perception of the Northern Lights in the
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, of course, of course. Now with the travel agency, I'm always talking with the guides, like, oh, how's the weather, you know? And because you're not gonna risk your people, and they're like, oh no, this part of Iceland it's a little risky in these days, you know? So before you go to that place, you need to research a little to get the best. Like if the northern lights are in on summer, go on summer, you know, or whatever in this case.
Hmm.
I think
And
it's
how did you
important.
feel when you saw it? I mean, it's such an incredible, I'm sure it was probably incredible. So what were your feelings and sentiments when you saw that?
No, I think I'm a very, I don't know how to say it, like I appreciate a lot of things. So some people like are like, oh, Isa, like you appreciate little things. No, like even if I see a butterfly or even if I see the northern lights, I'm always thankful. And I think I'm very blessed to have this opportunity and I'm always thank God for this. And I just no, there's no words for this, I think. It's like, how can this exist? You know, like this beautiful world. And I want to get to know many other countries, you know? It's just in my heart, like to get to visit. And nature, and I know like traveling is not very cheap, like the flights and stuff, but getting there, nature is free, you know? I
Mhm.
think it's one part of going low budget because you don't need to pay. Like the nature is already there. Some beautiful waterfalls. Yeah, the northern lights. You don't pay. Only if you get the tour, right? But you can go with your friends, get a car, and at night see the tour. Like
Yeah.
get your own tour.
And how cold was it, Lisa? You said, because was it?
I don't remember the temperature, but it was so freaking cold, like very cold. Yeah, I had like this hundreds of jackets, but it wasn't like enough. I'm not very used to cold, but I know it was cold. Even though I'm not used to cold, it was so cold.
Mm.
They had to carry me to the van. I was like, no, don't carry me. I feel useless when when people carry me, and they needed to carry me because my arms, my legs, it was so hard. So you need to be careful. That's why you need to go with a group, because imagine if I went alone and I couldn't walk. Like, who's gonna help me?
Yeah.
So my friends helped me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you even touched on kind of doing your research and about the place that you're going to beforehand, right? Do
Yeah,
you
of
do
course.
you have any tips on how you like to do research and prepare for a trip?
Well, yeah, I just uh, well, like when organizing a trip, I just see the map, like the perfect route, like just not to do something that's unlogical, like the movement. If you're gonna drive, you're not gonna do like, you need to see the perfect route. Then you put like where do you want to sleep, if you want a hotel, if you want an Airbnb, depending on your budget, or a hostel. And then when you have that, you start searching for the experiences and how to get to them. No, and if you say no, I don't know, Costa Rica, I want to go to this beautiful waterfall. Do I need a guide? No. Or I have friends like all over the world, so I'm like, oh, what do you think about this? Can I go alone? Or with you, like I met you, I would call you if I'm going to Dubai. Oh, what do you think about this place? It's better to talk to someone if you have a friend or something that so they can give you their advice. If not, YouTube and Google.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I
TikTok
feel
also
yeah,
now.
TikTok is all widespread, or listen to this podcast and
Yeah.
start to identify which parts of that country you want to visit. I was going to say, yeah, like nowadays we have such access to the internet, so it's very easy to at least get a basic understanding of the more popular or the more mainstream things. But to really dive a few levels deeper is to talk to the locals or the people who are already there to understand, well, this is
Yeah.
a hidden gem. This is a hidden gem. These are the things that you should do that's not publicly advertised. And I feel like,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but a lot of times I feel those experiences that's more hidden, have come with a lot more beautiful memories.
Of course, yeah. Like to go, like the most amazing part of the trips I did, like at the time, it was like I looked for cultural stuff, but like if you go there, go to the places that people go, not the tourists, you know? And and you can go to touristic places because they're beautiful also and they're made for that. But like the local people tell you like, oh, like you should go to this waterfall or you should go to this city, and it's different, it's not overcrowded. And there's also I love making videography, I love photography. So capturing something with not a lot of people, I think it's better
Yeah,
and more
absolutely.
special.
Yeah. Are you taking your camera with you typically on these trips so that you can kind of capture the
Yeah.
videos and the pictures?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also my phone. My phone is my best companion because I always record everything. But it's not like, oh, I'm gonna put it on Instagram. It's like I love recording in general. If it's for a memory, like if I see a cute animal or if I see a beautiful sky, so I'm gonna remember it.
Mm.
Because I know it's in my mind, but sometimes there are pictures that, oh, I didn't remember this. Like, oh, it was so nice. So it's important, I think, to have these memories. Also with my friends, when they're making like something and you have their essence, captured. And it's sometimes not planned, and you're recording, having fun, and then you look back and I was like, oh, this was a really nice trip, and I like this about like videography. I love more videography than photography because you capture and you could see through my eyes. Because David, if you go to travel with me, you would record something different than I. Everyone sees with their own eyes what it's more important for them. Maybe I'll record an animal and maybe you record the building or something.
Mm. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like I love it.
And I feel like the videos also kind of capture the emotions behind it. Like a picture, you could see it, but you don't exactly, you can't remember 3 years later how you felt in that specific picture. But a video, you could hear your laughter, you could
You're
hear,
like
maybe the tears
your
after your
tears.
hike. So
Yeah.
great. Well, let me take you a bit more east into Central Europe, where I just, just before this, we are talking about, you in Switzerland and the beautiful nature and seeing snow. And so t tell me about that experience and just the way that, when you open I guess the window or the door to where you're staying and
No.
seeing the beautiful, how did describe to me that scene and what you felt and what you saw.
Well, when I got to Switzerland, it was at night. So we stayed the night and the early in the morning, obviously I wanted to see where were we, right? So I opened the window. I had the video. I really had the video. I was like, I need to record this. Like, no one's gonna believe it. Like, we were like at night we were going up and up and up, and I was like, where are we going? So I understood because we were on the top of the mountain and everything was so white. Like everything was so shiny and perfect. I was like, am I in heaven? I'm not kidding. I was like, this might be heaven. So that was the first part, like my first impression, because I told you I went to Lebanon when I was like 7 years and saw some snow because I have family there. We went skiing. But the first time I saw like the mountain fully covered was in Switzerland. And for me, it's one of the most like special memories, like, and I have it in my heart because I was so amazed. And then at night, like at 12, because I wasn't in school. It was like in the COVID area at time, and we couldn't do much. So we were just in nature and in the Airbnb. So at night I went out to the lake because there was a lake near, and I saw the Milky Way, but it was so beautiful. It was all also cold, was it snow, Switzerland, but you looked up and the most beautiful sky I've ever seen. Because there was not a lot of lights, so you could see all the stars and you could tell the Milky Way. And I had this camera that captured, because the camera captures all the light. So in the picture, you see everything. So I think it's one of the highlights of my life. Switzerland for sure.
Wow, that's incredible description. It just made me just almost teleports me to what you were seeing and when you open that door or the window to in the morning and you just see the beautiful,
Yeah.
snow-covered mountains. Where were you in Switzerland? Was it I assume you were in the Swiss Alps, but whereabouts in
Yeah,
Switzerland were you?
I just I don't remember. Like I wait, it was his name. I just told my cousin about it, but I don't remember now. Let me see if I can see in my pictures.
Hmm.
But it was a place where most people go to ski. It's like a very famous um
Yeah.
city, I think.
Interesting, yeah, because when I was in Switzerland, I did go to the heart of a place called Interlaken. I actually went there because I wanted to paraglide from the Swiss Alps and really have that beautiful memory. But just the nature and the beauty of Switzerland is really unmatched with its mountains and its lakes. It's really beautiful. So
Yeah. It was called Arosa. Arosa. Yeah, you should go. Definitely go to Arosa. And I
mm,
love I love road trips. Like in general, I love driving. Planes are nice, like this beautiful view. Like going in the car and seeing all these beautiful sceneries and the trees. And because I was in Europe, so we went to Italy, Germany, stuff. So it's very different when you go from place to place. And I love being, I don't like drive, but I can drive, but I like being in the princess seat. Only watching, eating, sleeping.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's the advantage of Europe. It's so easy to access the neighboring countries, and then you can do it in a very short period of time as well, right? So.
yeah.
And I guess because you mentioned Italy and it's just across the border, you can cross it to go to Italy from Switzerland. And you mentioned that Italy, you felt that this was more romantic, or I guess Rome was more romantic than Paris. What made you feel this way?
100%. 100%. Even the people, like Italians are so very like, yeah, they have this energy, no? But the place, I went to Paris. Paris is like a must, because it's Paris. And it was beautiful. I went to Eiffel Tower. But like Rome was crazy. Like I went 2 months to Italy. So I went traveling like to many places, to Verona. That's the city of love also. Oh, Verona. Yeah, I love Verona. But I think the Colosseum made it very special, like in the golden hour. It's really like painted golden and with the restaurants in front. And I was like, this is so romantic. Like, what the hell? If I want to go here with my boyfriend when I marry someday, I need to go there, you know?
Yeah.
And in Paris it's beautiful, but it's a different vibe, even everything for me.
Hmm.
I think Italy in general, like the country, it's very colorful and
Yeah.
very beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. It actually just reminded me of I actually have a picture right in front of the Colosseum that I took with the backdrop of the sunset coming down and it's shining on the
Oh,
Colosseum with the golden rays
no,
and
the perfect picture.
yeah, and it's extremely beautiful. And I can see what you mean with the terraces and there's a bit of music and the service and people are just eating, enjoying life and it's
Eating pasta.
what energy. Yeah. So you said you spent quite a bit of time in Italy. So did you go from north all the way down to south?
Yeah, I do. I was in Trento. Yeah. My volunteering, I went to volunteer to Trento. No, I'm always very lucky. Like in the volunteer, you don't get to choose the place where you stay, but I was in front of the conservatory, Italian conservatory there. So in front of where I live, they were playing cello, violin, because I also love music. Like in life, I like music, traveling, it's one of my favorite. So it was perfect experience because there was this building of the government also that was the best part. It was like a movie, really. I was very lucky, and I went like walking to work. When other girls went by train because they were so far from where they worked and stuff. And I was like in Trento, and I went also to Venice, Florence, Milan, well, Verona, what was it? Geneva? How you say in English? Genoa in
You
Spanish.
know what? Yeah, yeah.
Geneva? Or I don't know. In Genova. Yeah, I went to many places. And I think Italy is one of my favorite countries also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this dream of going to Italy and I made it. I was like, that, please, let me go.
You know what? I absolutely adore Italy as well. I've been there many times from north all the way down to south to the boot in Sicily and Catania.
Yeah.
I actually took an
Oh no.
overnight train there at it was a really interesting experience, we could say the least. But I did say that one thing is, I mean, Italian food, like I almost can't eat Italian food outside of Italy in the sense it was so good and so authentic eating in Italy. I feel like I'm not getting the same experience when I'm eating it outside of Italy, right? So
No, the food in every place. It's different, of course, like the essence of the country. But I think if you go there to that country, I don't know. When I went to Peru, I ate this little. I'm not proud about it, but it's very common for there. It's called cuy. It's like this little animal, and I'm like, oh, I'm already here. Let's do it. You know, you need to try the things they eat there. And the guide was so excited to show us like their culture. I didn't like it. It's the worst thing I've ever eaten, but I tried it.
mm.
It's part of adapting and knowing new places.
And I'm curious, is that a specialty in Peru or a delicacy in Peru?
I think so. Yeah, because it's very famous. They eat it a lot. I don't know if it's a delicacy, but it's very common, like very traditional. And also the llama, the alpacas. I didn't want, but for them it's like a cow. There are so many that they eat them. That was pretty good actually, but I think it's part of the experience.
Yeah,
Like not illegal animals, but animals that you can eat. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah. I mean, you're really immersing yourself right into the heart of the culture and whether it's
Yeah.
from food or experiences and so on. So And I guess the last thing I really wanted to touch on, Isabel, is your experience in Japan, because I know that's something that's very unique. And now we've gone from South America to Africa to Europe, and now we're going all the way to East Asia. So, you know, Japan is an incredible place. And, where were you, first of all? What cities were you in Japan? And how was the overall experience?
I think I went to Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and I don't remember the other names. But like for me, Japan, it was not about only the millenary culture, but the actual culture, like nowadays culture. It was like, oh my God, like you could really be like these good citizens, you know? I don't know about the government, but like I could tell they were so organized. They were so amazing. Like people, I don't know, it was like a shock in this part. Like everyone respects each other, even like when going up like in the malls, everyone in the stairs go to the right. No, so if you have a hurry, you go up. And if you lose something, no one takes it. And if you get lost, someone helps you, you know? I think Japan was crazy because my dad wanted to go to Japan. I was like, what are we doing in Japan? Like, why? And then I was like, this was absolutely worth it. Like the culture is crazy and it's another world. You know, I didn't feel this cultural shock as with Turkey, you know, but Japan definitely is another world. You know, there are robots and these different buildings and these different streets and these little houses and we slept on the floor, you know? So, and instead of going to a hotel, I think the good part about going to an Airbnb is like you're living where Japanese people live or the country you tell, you know. My dad was like, no, we're not going to hotels. Like, no, that's too good. We're gonna live as they live, you know, stay in places as they stay and have this experience, like full experience. And I usually don't spend much money in food. I like to spend more money in experiences. But my dad in every trip is like, we're going one day to the best restaurant in the countries we visit because he studied for chef and stuff and he loves food. And I think it's also important like to know this. Okay, you can eat sandwiches all of it, but one day to eat in a good place. Like to know the food, to know the delicacies and stuff. It was a good idea.
Absolutely. And I'm very, well, one thing I'm very glad you pointed out is the Japanese society and the culture in a sense of the people, right? Like just so respectful and attention to detail of other people and aware of their surroundings, right?
Yeah,
Like I
amazing.
remember at the train, like everybody's kind of lining up in a very orderly fashion in different lines before their train comes, where the respect to people within a public transport area and so on. So and there's not much garbages around, and it's like it's completely clean, right? So people
It's
hold on,
like
keep on their,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, but then you say like you could do this, you know. Mexico is beautiful. It has amazing people. Sometimes we lack of this kind of education, you know. Not all, but it's like general, like there's not much education in this, no. And when I went to Japan, it's like we can do this, you know, because we have these amazing people, hardworking people, beautiful places, but we need to work more on this, you know, like being respectful, like you go first, then I go, and in this part, you know,
Mhm.
I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that was really surprising to me was like Tokyo, for example, where like each area had its own personality, had its own theme almost, right? It was
Yeah,
like cities
it's
within a
crazy.
city. Which area of Tokyo did you enjoy the most?
I really don't remember the areas, but like I think it was the center. Where is it where there's a lot of stores, anime stores and stuff,
Ah,
but it's
okay.
full.
Yes, yes. I actually, I think I don't remember the name exactly, but I know what you
Yeah,
mean. Yeah, yeah. That area had its thing
yeah,
of anime and yeah.
yeah. And there were like stores, like five, like yeah, like five layers of anime and stuff. And that was pretty cool. Like it's nothing I was used something I was used to. Like in Mexico, I think they might be, but there it was everything about that. And anime it's nice, I think.
There's definitely a big audience for it.
Yeah.
And just reminiscing about the Japanese food as well. I remember I had the best steak in Osaka actually, because I always wanted to go to Kobe to try the Kobe beef, but then there was a chance
Oh,
to, yeah, and it's
Kobe
quite well
beef.
known, right? So, but I did try in Osaka, and I mean, it just I was so surprised. I wanted to chew the steak, but it just melted in your mouth, and it's like it was
Delicious.
incredible. It was
Oh my
incredible.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah. Traveling
great.
is amazing.
Look, I know you always have that joy for traveling, and you have such just a great, I think, view and perception on traveling from such a great standpoint. So I think that's fantastic. I guess as we
Yeah.
wrap up, I know you have a traveling agency that you are working on that you're building. So if you want to share a little bit about that to the audience and how they can leverage what you're
Yeah.
building.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm giving it more structure. I already have clients. But the plan, as I told you, was like to start making these groups and travel, but my plans changed and I got this work. So I'm gonna give the chance, but I'm also helping people to travel. Yeah, I have a team. I have some girls working for me to make these experiences for my clients amazing. And because I have traveled to many places, I give my point of view, I give advices to make it like a really nice trip. My clients have been very happy, fortunately. And and after I would want to give my 100% of my time to the agency, and start traveling because I think like right now, like I'm working, like most of people only have like vacations like once, no, a year. And if they call me to have those vacations, they need to be very special. If you only have these 12 days, you need to have the best 12 days of your year. And I think that's very a lot of responsibility for a travel agent to make these days like count and give you the best places, experiences, activities. So I think I would say that.
Amazing. Well, look, you're putting the customer first, and that's the most important. And I really appreciate you coming on, Issa. It's been great reminiscing over some of your stories. So thank you so much. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me. It was amazing to talk about them.